Pasuk says after they threw Yosef in the bar and they wanted to convince Yaakov that he was destroyed by an animal. The pasuk says, "Vayakir vayemer kseres b'ni chaya roach sahu." He was eaten up by an animal. Tarev taraf Yosef. So the pasuk then continues, "Vayikra Yaakov simlasoi vayosem sakba masnav." Yaakov went into Avelis. Vayisabel al b'nai yomim rabim. Yaakov was for many days, not many days, for the entire time, he was in Avelis. Then the pasuk says, "Vayikumu chol banav v'chol bnei Esav l'nachamai." All his children tried to console him, to be menachem him. Vayimayin lihisnachem, and he refused to be nisnachem. Vayemer ki ered el b'ni ovel shoyla. Vayev k'esa aviv. Pasuk says they tried to be menachem him, but he refused to be nisnachem. So the Orach Chaim HaKadosh asks a very interesting question, and that is, it would be very helpful for us to know what exactly they said to him, what they try to say to him. What does one say in the tragic situation if Rahman al-San, someone loses a child? So the pasuk says they were menachem him. So what did they say? The Orach Chaim HaKadosh writes, "Lo husker kan divrei hanachama." It doesn't say over here what they said. V'nira shekavonas hakosav hi kishero bona kol kach avelis v'sak mosnav yomim rabim. When his children saw that this went on for an extended period of time, Amru zeh yasei odam shemeis lepona b'no yichidai afilo ena yichidai im hayu lebanim muatim yakpid al chisarn mehamut. He said we could understand this if a person only has one child and he loses Rahman litzlan that one child, or he has very few children. So, but over here we know that Yaakov Avinu had 12 sons. So Zoktar Achai Lozen Ischach Mu Lasais Dover Shebeimtsu So Yisnachim Me'atzmai. The Ted said they didn't say anything. What did they think? They came up with the following idea: Vahushin is Kapsu Yachad Kolbonav Acharas Arbonim Vacharas Arbonais. They got all the children together. I remember there was Yud Beit Shvatim. Yosef is missing, but each of the Shvatim was born with a twin. So Sacha Koil, there were 11 sons, and 12 daughters. It's quite a crowd. And Ubeneim Ubeneisam Rabim, and children, and Einaklach, and grandchildren. V'holchu v'amdu etzlai. The Nechama, the plan was just to bring everybody into the room. V'tehi zeis nechmasai. And that would be the Nechama. So, kimi sheyesh loy kol kach banim u'banais. Ein roi loy litztar kol kach al ben kotan im nedar min abanim. You have a throng of people, so that's the biggest Nechama. Look how much you have left. V'hu omroi v'yakumu kol banav v'chol b'nei Esav. That's what the pasuk means. They got up, all his children, sons and daughters, and grandchildren. V'ki mezu shal kul yachadi l'menachamai. Kishayiru ki rabbi ravu banav u'b'nei Esav. That should be the Nechama. So Zoktar Achai HaKadosh v'afal pikein lo hoyel doi dover zeh. And in spite of the fact that they brought in all these children and grandchildren, and one would expect that should provide a Nechama, vayimon lihisnachem. Vayemer tam ki evid el bani pirish begeresh ein liela hu miyuchad. Ki ein kidei b'chol bana v'nais lihisnachem olav. Ki ahiv mi kolochav l'tama yadu b'divrei Azayah. It wasn't sufficient, because Yosef occupied a special place in Yaakov's heart, and therefore the ribui of children and grandchildren was not sufficient to console Yaakov Avinu. Ma'aser shehoya ka'choya. There was a Rav in Eretz Yisrael who had a shul, and is a very common midig. The Rav speaks between Mincha Ma'ariv. So he said over this word, and he said over this Orach Chaim, that in spite of the fact that he had all these children, but the fact that he's missing one child, Yaakov was still unconsolable. So the Rav went and he made it zushtel, and he said, "Banim atem la'Hashem Elokeichem," that we're all children of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and there are thousands and thousands of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Yidden that are learning Torah, Shem mitzvahs, and this and that. But unfortunately, there are millions of Jews that have absolutely no connection. So just like Yaakov Avinu cried over one son, the Rebbeinu Shalom cries over all of his children that unfortunately are lost. And just like Rebbeinu Shalom is a father and is a tata, and having thousands and thousands of children don't console Kavi Yochel Rebbeinu Shalom for missing all the children that he's missing. That's what the Rav said over. This Rav had a neighbor who was not a Shomer Torah mitzvahs. And in spite of all attempts in the past to bring this fellow to Yiddishkeit, nothing helped. But that day he had Yortzeit, and he came to say Kaddish for one of his parents. And he heard the Rav's drasha, and the Rebbeinu Shalom cries over even one child that's lost. He went to the Rav and he said, "Do you mean the Rebbeinu Shalom cries over me?" He says, "The Rebbeinu Shalom, yeah, the Rebbeinu Shalom cries over you because you're lost." That made such a profound impression on him that the man went on to become a Baal Tshuva, a Shomer Shabbos, and a Shomer Torah mitzvahs, because he related to the fact that just like Yaakov cried over one solitary son, the Rebbeinu Shalom cries over each and every Jew that is lost to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So there's a lot of lessons in there, but one of the many lessons is what one vort between Mincha Ma'ariv, one word, can do to another Jew.